Hello everyone, and now welcome to game number 2 in the series, WFZ versus ZDR. Game 1, really back and forth action up until the very end. We'll see if things will continue to move along that particular route as we move on into game number 2. WFZ spawning as the red undead on the top left hand side of Terranistan. ZDR or ZDR spawning as the blue orc on the bottom right. Orc versus undead once more, and things are now getting underway. We'll see what is going to be happening here in just a moment, as it will be a Blade Master up against a Death Knight once more. Now, Terranistan is one of those maps that has a lot of creep camps, but they're all relatively easy to take out and take down. With that said, games generally run a little bit longer on this map, and because of the readily available expansions to take, it's not surprising that the games do run a little bit longer. It's easier to defend expansions, it's easier to set up expansions, as there are only two real ways to get to the other side of your opponent's, the other side and the opponent's side of the map. Meanwhile, Gloves of Haste being picked up, the Blade Master perhaps hoping that instead of Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, Slippers of Agility, that would have been a much nicer item. Instead, the Blade Master does get to level 2 though, and we'll see what he does with his Scroll of Town Portal. Definitely sells it, heals up, and is now making rounds in order to perhaps pick off experience here and here. So far, the Death Knight with 2 Crypt Fiends and 4 Skeletal Minions should be able to deal a lot of damage here. Also dropping down an Essence or a Sacrificial Skull, and this is to try and keep up and keep the health of all of these units up higher. And let's see, I guess it's more of a reasoning where if you think it is possible to get creep jacked, you definitely want to make sure that you do not you are not in a disadvantage or not advantageous position. Meanwhile, Crypt Fiend now looking to back off here. Blade Master trying to come in, going to clean up some of these skeletal minions once more. But even though skeletal minions do give full experience, it's still really no real blow to the Death Knight or the Undead army. Blade Master still going after the Forest Trolls here. Gonna go ahead and finish that up, and you can see that the Crypt Fiends are just trying to finish off this Forest Troll here, and it may be able to take down that unit there. And is he gonna take it? No, he's not. The Death Knight actually gets to level 2. The Blade Master perhaps wishing that he actually decided to go after that unit instead, and now the Death Knight may be able to catch up to the Grunts if things do not go well. Alright, no Skeletal Minion now gonna get taken down here. The Skeletal Minion's gonna disrupt the healing on one of those Grunts, even though the Grunt is already at 600 hit points. Blade Master now off to the north, decides to head back to his neck of the woods as more Grunts still being added to the army. Stronghold about 3/4 of the way done. Meanwhile, Blade Master already coming once again, trying to take down the Death Knight and some of those Crypt Fiends. This is just not looking very good for WFZ, but then again, I was saying that much of the time for WFZ in game number 1. So we'll see if he's gonna be able to climb out of a hole again, or if he's just actually playing to his strengths and knowing the proper timing on his attack. Skeletal Minion once again falling here, and I guess if you know that your opponent is constantly in your neck of the woods, there's no chance that your opponent can set up an expansion, since there is in fact creeps there. I guess that is one of the benefits of WarCraft 3. By knowing where your opponent's hero and army is, you can start making more assumptions than in StarCraft 2, where your opponent can push out and try to expand at the same time, not really worrying about the necessary timing or trying to remove anything at the expansion. Alright, let's move back down. Blade Master now heading off to the bottom left-hand side of the map. No, gonna keep track of the bridge once more, as the Death Knight gonna be sitting close to home and should be trying to set up, no, not get the Lich yet, still only about halfway there, as we are looking at Stronghold and the Spirit Lodge and the Bestiary all up and running. Altar of Storms training up the Shadow Hunter about halfway, Spirit Lodge and the Bestiary about 2/3 of the way done. So this is actually looking to be very good for ZDR if he can make something happen. The problem is the size of the Undead army. That is rather large right now. 6 Crypt Fiends. You can take a look. There's only 4 Grunts, so being outnumbered being outnumbered by what, I don't know, from 6 to 4, not quite 100%, but it is still rather scary. 2/3 of the way, as the Blade Master still running around in circles on that Death Knight, but that's still not a good thing, as he is still taking a significant amount of damage. Shadow Hunter is out on the field. Bestiary now training up that all-important ensnare, as the Blade Master now ventures forth again. All right. Windwalk strike onto an illusion. Not quite sure why you would even bother with that, but it looks like that illusion is just still going to be sneaking in. There, the illusion does disappear. Death Knight sitting at level 2. Tome of Agility. Death Knight going to be closer and closer to level 3. And yes, we'll go back to pick up that Tome of Agility. Thank you. Meanwhile, back down over here, we see a ZDR clearing up the Sasquatch and one of the big creep camps remaining on this map. Not that there were that many to begin with. Shadow Hunter now finally on the board with 46 experience. Meanwhile, the Death Knight still looking to get to level 3 and perhaps help the Lich when the Lich does finally make its way out. Shadow Hunter now heading back over to the top left here. Blade Master Shadow Hunter should be able to clear up a lot of these creep camps without any real issue. It looks as though that is now underway. Spirit Link is down across some of these units. Not quite sure who. The Spirit Walker here, one grunt there, and that is pretty much it. Not quite sure any other units have Spirit Link. Tome of Experience, however, left behind, so the Shadow Hunter is going to be able to pick up 100 experience, right? Up to 370, 398. And that is the reason why you grab that tome after you level. You still get the full 100 experience as opposed to diminishing returns on normal units. Alright, Renegade Wizard dropping down a Lightning Shield. However, the Lightning Shield now damaging his own friendly units here. This could actually deal a lot of damage and hurt tremendously. Crypt Fiend finally looking to back off as the Crypt Fiend gets to level 3, and the Lich is still sitting at level 1, needing perhaps Frost Armor or more likely Frost Nova. Death Knight now still wandering around. Blade Master looking to travel inside here, perhaps take down a ghoul or two, and it looks like he will be able to do that. No, a very, very narrow fit, and the Death Knight does not have Dust of Appearance, but the Lich did, and the Lich quickly dropped the Dust of Appearance in order to, or use a Dust of Appearance in order to reveal that Blade Master. Blade Master now down to sub 350 hit points for a little while, climbing his way back up, and perhaps wants to try that one more time. Shadow Hunter sitting at level 3 has double clarity potions, a scroll of the beast, and a speed scroll of speed. All of those items very, very useful consumables and can swing the tide of the battle fairly quickly. However, we are looking at destroyers already making their way out, Black Citadel already done, and we should be also getting destroyer form in just a few moments. Back down over here to the south, Skeletal Minion scotted on his way in. Death Knight sitting at level 3, Lich sitting at level 2. Are we perhaps going to see a Pit Lord once again? That is also within the realm of possibility, as the Death Knight now makes his way over here. Alright, back down to the south, Shadow Hunter using those clarity potions, getting back up to full mana. Blade Master now retreating as well. No expansion here, still a bit of a surprise. And back home, only one rogue is remaining. Death Knight and Lich making its way over. Mud Golem. Taskmaster, a lot of slow will come down, and it doesn't look like the Death Knight is in danger of really taking any serious damage here from the Orc army. The Orc army will most likely get held up for just long enough, and the Death Knight will get that much closer to level 4 and level 3. If the Death Knight get to 4 and the Lich get to level 3 well before the Blade Master Shadow Hunter, I do not know what to make of it. Let's take a look. The Blade Master is already at 3-3, so 3-3 compared to 3-2. And if 4-3 and the switch in the heroes already is underway, things are going to get dramatically worse. All right, Spirit Link right there. There's the attacks. One grunt quickly taken down. Speed Scroll now being used as the Blade Master. Going after those Crypt Fiends with a vengeance. Are we going to see a heal? No, we are not going to see a heal. No heal there. The Death Knight opting to save other units instead, as we are looking at a Death Coil onto a Grunt there. All right, you can see another Burrow coming through as the Blade Master and the Shadow Hunter. Well, the Shadow Hunter does have Dust of Appearance, so that could perhaps work around. Raider now continuing to just try and get some ensnares down onto the... Oh, this is going to be very close. The Death Knight now trying to get away down to 210 hit points and does survive. We're looking at some damage being dealt across the board, and there is some more damage still. So far, the Blade Master, yes, did in fact take down a Crypt Fiend, but the Death Knight is in serious trouble as we're looking now at a level 3 Lich. Lich now taken down there. More damage to be had as it looks like Grunt after Grunt could get taken down here. All right, another Spell Scroll or Healing Wave now being used again. Are we going to perhaps take down some more units? There is a Shadow Hunter hiding underneath and now finally makes its way out. Blade Master takes down a Crypt Fiend and is now looking for perhaps some easy targets, going after the Obsidian statue. And if he's able to take down an Obsidian statue at this point, that would be that much more exciting and better for him, as an Obsidian statue does cost more of an investment and give more experience than a Destroyer. Excuse me, other way around. The Destroyer gives more experience than the Obsidian statue. Death Knight now wandering around back away here. Blade Master now heading up, getting closer to level 4, but still not quite there, as we're looking at both sides without an expansion. Both of them unwilling to risk an expansion attempt. Meanwhile, the Raider is very low on hit points. Death Knight trying to take down the Blade Master. Blade Master down to 78 hit points, down to 40, and it goes down after a questionable reveal and breakage of Windwalk. And now we see the Death Knight at 4 and the Lich at 3. Level 4, level 3 is one of those combinations to be scared of, as when they level again, level 3 of any sort of nuking ability is going to be that much harder, in addition to the most likely level 2 Frost Nova, and also we have a Silence coming in from the Dark Ranger. Murloc Huntsman taking a lot of damage. Alright, it looks like another one will get taken down. Shadow Hunter still sitting at level 4. Meanwhile, where is the Blade Master? Blade Master was I thought he was resurrected at the tavern. No, he is getting resurrected the old-fashioned way, as we're looking at the Apprentice Wizard as well, getting taken down, and that's pretty much all the creep camps you have. The top right one is the last one available, and there is no chance that, well, no chance that I see that she could get creepjack there. Or he could get creepjack there, as the Shadow Hunter now making its way back down to the south. Alright, Death Knight, Lich, all working together. You can take a look. Oh, we should have a little bit of a transition. The Dark Ranger is in a very good spot, but does not reach there just or in time, allowing all these units to retreat back home. Death Knight now checking the top right hand side of the map, making sure that there is no expansion. Meanwhile, bottom right hand side of the map, we see a final expansion, or the final killing of a unit at the Goblin Laboratory. Are we going to perhaps see a scout farm there? Wait, nope. Oh, there is. How was he hiding in plain sight? Nope, it was daybreak and the rogue was still sitting there, not revealing himself. How interesting is that? Meanwhile, the Death Knight still wandering around here. I believe this creep camp is already cleared. Yes, it is. And every creep camp has been cleared. It is now a matter of time before the expansions are discovered as we move on to the next phase. Troll Berserkers being added to help deal with those destroyers that most likely will be taking to the skies. The problem with destroyers, though, with berserkers, are their relatively low hit points. 392, 450 is really not that high compared to the Raider, the Spirit Walker, the Grunt, all of them have much higher units. I think only the Bat Rider has a little bit less, and we all know that the Bat Rider is a much more, well, explosive target, as he just suicides his way in to his enemy air units. Alright, Blade Master now heading from the north. You can see that there's a destroyer there. Oh, there is a purge, and the Shadow Hunter is just hoping to purge that, purge these destroyers so that they're forced to stay in place just a little bit. And if he's able to do that, then perhaps he'll be able to pick off one or two as well. Alright, Dark Ranger is in the very far back, trying to keep track of where his army is at all times. Blade Master sitting at level 3, getting very close to level 4. Meanwhile, the expansion down over here on the bottom left quickly canceled as it realized there was no way that it was going to be completed. Destroyers, Abominations, Crypt Fiends now making their way inside to the Orc base. Blade Master, Shadow, or Troll Berserkers are getting into position as well. There's that Shadow Hunter, and here is the upcoming fight. Blade Master is right there and goes straight after Obsidian Statue. The Obsidian Statue, if he's not careful, will get taken down. And if he gets taken down, that is pretty much going to slow things up even further. Alright, going after the all-important units. As long as you're focusing down one unit at a time, you do have a very strong advantage, as your army gets larger faster just because of the attrition rate. The Blade Master, however, now switching to the higher priority targets, as we are looking at another Obsidian Statue to get taken out. Alright, down to 70, 39 hit points. One more shot should do it. There it goes. And now, finally, a Raider is going to be forced to try and retreat. Unable to retreat, as the Blade Master is still going after some relatively easy targets. Alright, there goes a Crypt Fiend. Shadow Hunter is still alive. Blade Master now going after the targets here. Perhaps going to try and take down a Destroyer. 98%, or 98 critical strike. Crypt Fiend still alive, as the Death Knight seen at level 4. Cannot believe his luck. It really feels like ZDR has overcommitted in 2 fights, and that may be the way this series ends. Can ZDR perhaps mass up enough of a comeback to try and get back into this game? I do not know for certain, as even though he does have fortified armor on his burrows, whether or not that's going to be enough to really slow down those destroyers. Spirit Walker, Shadow Hunter, Blade Master now all ready to go. Alright, are we going to see here? There is that Spirit Walker. Spirit Walker now looking to return back. Shadow Hunter looking to try and take down some of those other remaining units. Blade Master now looking to finish off another Crypt Fiend, and the Crypt Fiend gets a little bit of rejuvenation, so to speak. New light on life or death, as the Crypt Fiend now burrows himself after taking a death coil. Alright, Raiders slowly getting masked up. Let's take a look at the upgrades. 3-0 upgrades for the Destroyers and the Crypt Fiends. No upgrades at all that I see for the Orc player there, so that's just really bad. WFZ now bringing in a couple of ghouls off to the north, and while putting pressure on ZDR's main base. ZDR knows that he can't be in 2 places at once, and as soon as he realizes that, he is now certainly hurting. You can take a look. Orc Burrow now taking more damage. Back off to the north. One ghoul trying to make its way out. Does not find that ghoul. As the Crypt Fiends and the Destroyers now trying to finish up the remaining units here. Alright, looks like it's going to turn into a base race, but with the way things are laid out and the amount of gold that is being, that's been saved up, I would have to give the lead to WFZ. WFZ still has a little bit more gold there. How much money does he have? Not really that much, as we are looking at a 38/50 supply army coming in compared to a 61/70. That is the reason why ZD or WFZ's army seems so large compared to WFZ. That's because it is. Death Knight now just squeezing in damage, getting in a little bit more over time, And this build, which looks so easy to do, was just played absolutely perfectly by ZDR. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's not by ZDR, by WFZ. Hope you guys enjoyed game number 2 in this series.